Good day everyone and welcome to a new video about the S24. In this video we'll be testing the S24 base model. We'll be benchmarking it using both of the applications Antutu and Geekbench. We'll also be conducting a battery drain test. That means the battery drain test over the night as well as an active battery drain test using both the cellular network and Wi-Fi. Last, we will be testing the CPU Temps in both worst case scenario, that means in a very hot temperatures, as well as the winter scenario. This video was highly requested by you on my previous video, the S24 battery test. So if you want to see a detailed screen on time video, you can click the link down below and let's start. This device resembles the worst case scenario and I will explain further. This device actually uses mobile network all the time. That is the 4G plus, not 5G but 4G plus. Okay, this device uses Wi-Fi. The right device uses benchmarks in the worst way possible next to a heating source in a very hot temperature or covered by some thick wool. So that is the equivalent of a worst case scenario to see how much we can push the CPU to its temps limits. While this device runs at room temperature as well as normal circumstances, held in hand circumstances. Okay, so we start off with these two numbers. These two numbers reflect the amount of drain while just surfing the web. That is not downloading anything heavy, that is just pure surfing like chatting both on Wi-Fi and mobile network. As you can see, the results are pretty similar. When you see the average, that is 180 milliamp hours and the maximum is 380 milliamp hours, you could see that it's pretty much the same with the data. Keep that in mind, consuming data while you're not downloading stuff, when you are just surfing the web, chatting, sending text messages or images and stuff like that, okay? The second drain test I've used is actually using both of the mobile phones, downloading a hefty 2 or 3 gigabyte file. As you can clearly tell, that consumes more power because it needs to write stuff on the memory as well as consuming data, whereas it's on the Wi-Fi or the modem. But you can clearly see as well that the two numbers are somehow similar, with data just using about 800 milliamp hours and the Wi-Fi using the exact same amount. So we can clearly see the pattern here. While you're using the 4G, it's not that much of a difference actually. The only difference I have noticed is the slightly warmer, that is about 1 degree Celsius between these two mobiles, and that is also still in the safe zone since it's only 34-35 Celsius, and that is somehow moderate for a mobile phone, okay? Next up, we have this screenshot of actually leaving the data open in this mobile throughout the night to see how much it passively drains if you have data on, as well as syncing Gmail or loading new chats that I have received during the night. As you can clearly tell, it is not the best result ever. It's actually draining 15% for 15 hours. And that means that every hour it consumes approximately 1% of the battery. Okay, it's not impressive, but it's not bad either. So if you've left it through the night, you could wake up expecting it to be 8% less, okay? So that is the case here. That is not a screen on time. This screen on time means nothing because while the screen was on, I have done a lot of benchmarks on it, the Antutu and Geekbench that we will talk about. So these numbers mean nothing. If you want to see the actual screen on time test, that is the other video, okay? It is also worth mentioning that the passive battery drain was also increased by the Samsung biometrics. I have selected to leave the fingerprint on, okay, so you could press it anytime whether the device is off or on. So that actually increased the battery drain at night about 25%. So turning that off would actually decrease the battery drain at night. So now we will talk a little bit about the benchmarks. As you can clearly tell, the benchmarks are not the best numbers out there. If you want to go for the pure performance, I would suggest, if you are a gamer for example, I would suggest that you go straight to Snapdragon, and I know that, but for normal users I don't think that 1.6 million Antutu points will make a difference from 1.7 million points, but that is my opinion. But what's interesting about this benchmark, as I have previously said, this device resembles the worst case scenario, okay? It was covered in wool and having 4G connection while it benchmarked. So I could see how much the CPU would throttle during that heat, okay? And this one, no, it was actually held in hand while benchmarking and with no internet access, okay? As you can clearly tell, this is the error. Score has not been verified online. It means that it was not connected to the internet. So in the worst case scenario, this is the score the Galaxy S24 was able to. Keep in mind, it was covered in wool in order to resemble the worst case scenario, okay? And this one actually is the legit benchmark you could have. So these are the performance you would have whether you are in an extremely hot weather or you are in a normal weather, okay? And let's talk a little bit about the temperatures on this device, the worst case scenario device. Okay, so this device actually ran pretty hot during the benchmark, and that is logical since it was covered in wool and it was benchmarking. So it got up about 55 degrees Celsius, and that is a lot. But it only took a couple of seconds to get back to this degree, about 40 Celsius, okay? So it's not very bad, very dramatic. While the temperatures on this device right after the test were pretty good, it was approximately 30 degrees Celsius and went back to 26 degrees Celsius. That is in room temperature, okay? So that is the best case scenario or the normal scenario that you would actually use your mobile in. So it is pretty good temps on this device. And just for making sure, I have tried shooting 8K video on this device for 2 minutes, and it actually did not run hotter than 40 degrees Celsius while running the camera for 2 minutes shooting 8K videos. So that is another test I have done. And the last test I have run is Geekbench. During this test, I have also measured the CPU temps as well as the CPU load, okay, and you can clearly see that the CPU temps did not go further than 40 degrees Celsius while benchmarking on Geekbench, so that is also, I think, is a good result. Okay, about the results, this is the score that my device was able to get, okay? I will scroll down the information, so if anyone needs some very specifics about each section, he could see it, okay? And I will also show you how it stands in comparison to other devices. So this is the single core result, okay? And it is a little bit better, I could say 10% better than the S23 Ultra. And this is the multi-core comparison. This is what my device has reached, and it is approximately 30% better than the S23 Ultra. This is the GPU OpenCL benchmark, and that actually scored over 50% higher than the Galaxy S23 Ultra. And finally, this is the Vulkan GPU benchmark, and that actually also scored about 50% higher than the S23 Ultra. So these are the numbers I was able to achieve using these two devices, whether in temps or in benchmarks. And I think I dare to say that Exynos this year is actually a well-rounded CPU. Okay, it may lack a little bit on the benchmark compared to the Snapdragon 8 Generation 3. And I think it's a well-rounded device, especially if you use the device for everyday tasks. You're not an excessive gamer. Are these numbers good for you, or do you think that you could get more bang for your buck? Leave a comment down below, and don't forget to subscribe if you like this content. If you want me to continue just testing pure performance and pure temps and all the numbers that people actually care about, leave a comment down below supporting me, and thank you very much. See you next time.